She also won the Metropolitan Opera National Auditions and the Marian Anderson Award. For those who have heard her, there's never been any doubt that SYLVIA McNAIR is a winner. Her silvery tone, innate musicality, and consummate stylishness never fail to impress. Before we talk, let's listen to her with her husband HAL France at the piano perform Poulenc's Hôtel. SYLVIA McNAIR, welcome to Breakfast with the Arts.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Great to be here.
You've performed all over the world, but you've been concentrating primarily in America lately. Why is that?
That's right. Well, because I'm an American and I love being close to home. I spent the first 10 years of my career working primarily in Europe, and I was just homesick all the time, so I'm real happy to be here now, closer to the people I love, closer to things that are familiar. And you know, I live on the road. I live in suitcases 9 to 10 months a year, so it's nice to at least be able to turn on the television wherever I am and watch A&E, you know, because can't do that in Europe so much.
And you do all sorts of different styles, from Baroque to Broadway. Do you have a favorite?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the great things about my particular career is that I'm singing repertoire that covers a full 300 years of music. I mean, from, you know, middle 17th century repertoire all the way through repertoire of the whole 20th century, and I never have time to get bored with anything. I have to say, I think the thing that makes my heart beat the fastest would be music like songs by George and Ira Gershwin.
Really?
Things like that. I just finished doing...
Those American standards.
Exactly. I just finished doing some concerts with the New York Philharmonic, and I was so lucky. It was one of those kind of pinch yourself, this really is your life times to be singing music by George and Ira Gershwin on the stage with the New York Philharmonic in New York City during the Gershwin year, 1998. It was very, very cool for me to do that.
That's the kind of music you like the most. Is there a kind of music or a style or a time period do you think that perfectly suits your voice?
Well, people tell me that my voice is really well suited for music of the Baroque and classical eras, 17th and 18th century repertoire, and I've done a lot of it. In fact, my 2 Grammys are both for music that's in that period of music.
Coming up, you'll be at the Met doing Cleopatra. Tell us about that.
18th century opera. Yeah, there it is again.
Right.
Oh, well, Cleopatra, I mean, that's a night full. You know, here's a story. This is a 19-year-old woman. I mean, think about this.
Wow.
A 19-year-old woman has so hugely affected history. She falls in love, as everyone knows, with Julius Caesar. He's 51. He's the most powerful man in the world. His only child is older than Cleopatra. I mean, there's lots of great stuff to work with in terms of developing a character. Now, the way Handel treats that story, you know, the music of Handel is really more about showing off the beauty of the human voice. It's not so much about telling a great story, although Julius Caesar and Cleopatra is a pretty great story.
Pretty good story, yeah. Talk to us about the spectacle. For those people who can't make it to the Metropolitan Opera in New York, give us the idea of how many people, what the sets are like. Are there animals involved? I know that when you go to the Met, you know what I'm saying, you go there and it's unbelievable what goes on.
There are no journeys down the Nile River in this production. So
Oh, darn.
unfortunately, we don't have the spectacle of some of the larger, grander operas at the Met. Yeah, the sets are beautiful. The opera house itself is beautiful. It's very, very big. It seats something like 4,500 people. It's an enormous place. So even buying expensive tickets, you can still find yourself sitting quite a long ways away from the stage. But, you know, operatic voices are trained to sing loud and fill up huge spaces with no help from amplification, so we do our best.
Tell me about your education. I was curious to read you were a violinist first.
I started studying the violin when I was 7. My mother started giving me piano lessons when I was 3.
Wow.
And I studied both instruments all the way through college. Sort of got distracted by some singing lessons along the way when I was a junior in college and ended up changing my focus from violin playing to singing.
Did the violin affect the way you sing, having played?
Enormously.
Really? Tell me about that.
Well, any instrumental study when you're a child, it's like anything, foreign languages, anything. When you learn something as a young child, you hold on to it forever. And learning is never easier than when you're 5 or 6 or 7. And I learned a lot about music in those early years, and I've transferred every single bit of it to my singing. And I try to sing with the same sort of musical discipline that instrumentalists use when they play their instruments.
Did you come from a family of musicians?
Yeah. I happen to think I had the 2 greatest parents in the whole world, but my parents were both musicians. My mother still teaches. She's a school teacher, and she teaches privately also. My father was a conductor and a violinist. So there was a lot of music in our house.
You've had a lot of commissions, a lot of pieces written for you by different people. I'm curious to read about this one, something about the words of Hillary Clinton being put to music. Now, what's the story there?
Well, the story is that I was singing The Magic Flute, the Mozart opera, at the Salzburg Festival in the summer of '97, and Hillary Clinton came to Salzburg. The Salzburg Festival decided they wanted to give a reception and a luncheon for her. They asked me to sing, and I said, oh, gee, yeah, I'd love to. I'm a huge fan of Hillary Clinton. Gosh, I could easily be president of her fan club. So I sang, rather than singing a bunch of opera arias, I decided to sing American songs. I sang, you know, Gershwin and Harold Arlen and Victor Herbert for her. And when I was finished singing at this reception, she came rushing up to me and she said, oh, would you come and sing at the White House? I don't need to tell you, this was one of the high points of my life. So, yes, the whole experience of meeting her, talking to her, listening to her speak, watching her interact with people, she has an incredible gift with people. You really do feel like you're the only person in her world at that moment when she's talking to you. She's extraordinary. And it affected me in a way that made me want to commission a composer, and I've chosen Jake Hagee, who's the composer in residence at the San Francisco Opera, to write a song cycle. We haven't quite formed the texts of this yet, but that's where we're headed. We're going to take some of Hillary Clinton's words and put them to music.
That's amazing. And when will you premiere that? Do you have,
I don't
a
know.
date? Not sure yet?
Not sure yet. It's not even, you know, the notes aren't even written yet.
Oh, okay. And other commissions? Tell me about those.
Yeah, I have, actually, at present, there are 3 other commissions being done for me. I think the most flattering of those was a commission that Judy Aaron, our beloved friend who ran Carnegie Hall for 12 or 13 years and just passed away a few weeks ago. She phoned me up one night and said, Carnegie Hall would like to do a commission for you, Sylvia McNair. And that was sort of like, whoa, I think I'll remember this day as long as I'm alive.
Sure.
So John Corigliano is composing some songs for me, which I'll do at my Carnegie Hall recital March the 15th of the year 2000. He's also writing another piece that I'm singing in for the New York Philharmonic. And Bruce Adolph at the Lincoln Center Chamber Music Society has written a song cycle for me. That's kind of a cool thing, too. It's called 1,000 Years of Love Poems. And it literally is love poetry from, love poetry from the 9th or 10th century up to present. It's very interesting stuff.
There must be a great thrill to sing something that no one else has ever sung before.
Well, and music that's written for you, that's the other thing. You know, if something's too hard, you can say, change this, I can't do it, fix it, make me sound good.
Well, they must come in saying, here's your range, here's where she really kills, let's keep it within this time period,
Yeah,
right?
that's the idea.
Yeah. Speaking of 20th century composers, that's what's on your latest CD.
Yes, in fact, that's right.
Speaking
right.
of somewhat contemporary composers, both...
Well, Benjamin Britten is certainly one of the 20th century's best composers, and there's also music on there by Ravel and Debussy. I don't think very many people think of Debussy as a 20th century composer, although Ravel was certainly writing music at the beginning of this century.
Certainly crossed over into it.
That's
What
right.
do you like about this music? Why'd you do this CD?
I love French music. It's all those cigarette chords, you know, all those sort of...
What's
all
a
those,
cigarette chord?
Oh, a cigarette chord. Yeah, well, you know, those harmonies that sort of have -9 augmented 13, you know? I mean, that's...
Okay, I have no idea what
I
that
know, well,
means.
that's fine. That's music theory talk, but they're all those...
But I get an idea when you say smoky chords.
That's right, they're smoky chords. They're colorful, and they suggest, you know, sort of moods and romance and candlelight.
Well, it's a sultry cover, too.
Well, the Scheherazade, you know, that's pretty sultry music.
Where can we see you in the future? First, the Met, right?
The Met,
And,
yeah. I'll be in
Cleopatra,
Europe
what
for a
else?
couple of months this summer, and, oh, you know, the New York Philharmonic next fall.
And any more CDs? You can do more American music?
I hope so. We hope to do quite a few more of those. I'd be happy if I never had to do anything but American music for the rest of my life. I absolutely love it.
Well, we won't tell the Met, all right?
That's right.
If you can't see Sylvia McNair in one of those venues, you can certainly sample her artistry in works by Ravel, Debussy, and Britten on her latest CD. Sylvia, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You are a delight. Come back and visit us anytime.
I'd love to.
Breakfast with the Arts will continue in a moment.